We're halfway through the week and the last week of the month of April. Well, I remember April Fool was just a few weeks ago, and now why are we running to? What's going on? Why are the days?
And you're not happy about it, right?
No, I want to look young and vibrant forever. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central. I am Benga Oborevwori. This is where we bring you the best of everything you need to start your day. Insightful conversations, latest news, news packages, name it, humor. The right formula to start your day with this wonderful people. Yeah.
All right, speaking of wonderful people, I want to give a big virtual hug to all the wonderful people that belong to the football club that is Arsenal. Yesterday was such a tough time for Arsenal fans. PSG really, disappointed them. So we just want to say that our heart goes out to you. And my special good morning is to all the Arsenal fans. You're welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us this morning. For the next 3 hours, we're going to not just review big stories, but also the newspaper front pages. And when we open the phone lines during the newspaper front pages, you can get to be a part of the show by calling in to share your thoughts. I am Olive Emodi.
Well, it feels good to be here, and I'm saying good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and also a major condolence to the Arsenal fans. They're really going through a lot.
It's just
every
a one-goal lead. Let's give them till next week.
Don't downplay a one-goal lead.
Yeah, they could come back at the Park the Princess, and they would be doing fantastically. They would be playing very well, we hope. But then again, it was shattered dreams yesterday. They had opportunities to score, same with PSG as well, but they didn't take their chances.
I saw a tweet. What happened to Declan Rice? He rose above the occasion when they played Real Madrid, scoring 2 fantastic free kicks. And they say, people started tweeting Declan Rice for Ballon d'Or, and I saw Declan Rice for Ballon d'Or, and somebody retweeted, which rice? Do you mean of Father Rice?
They don't want Declan Rice to rise.
Oh my goodness. Yes, they don't want him to rise. The rise and fall of...
but like you said, let's see what happens at Parc the Princess and in Paris, just next week. So
it's just next week.
It's not over.
Next week, Wednesday. Hopefully, they'll be able to turn the tides around and, pick up a victory. But funny enough, let me just say this here. There's a research done by football pundits. They found out that any time the Pope dies, an English team wins the Champions League, and it's been proven.
Yeah, so
proven by who?
I'm going to leave it proven there. It's there. It's fact. It's history. It's there. Anytime the Pope dies, an English club wins the Champions League.
City,
Liverpool, Manchester City. Yeah, it happened. Fact, it happened. So, coincidentally, people now said, people said, and the Pope, just died. And then all eyes on Arsenal. Is it going to repeat itself?
The second leg is the final. Yeah. Yeah. So
I have strong belief in Arsenal. I think they're going to win the second leg. I think they'll win it by 2-1.
Same here.
That's what I feel. And then they're going to advance. But I don't know if they would win the finals. I'm saying this in belief that Arsenal would prove me right. Not wrong.
Arsenal fans are currently on the hot seat. Let's not put further pressure on them. Yesterday
by the way, this is Breakfast Central, not in the game.
Game
on.
Please, there is a show that discusses sports.
Our viewers.
Game on is there.
Yeah,
the game is there.
Once in a while, we just have to,
we're just showing off, we're jack of all trades and master of all. We know it all. Now I'm saying.
Okay.
There's problem. Anyway.
So let's get to breakfast conversation.
Yes, let's go to our first wake-up conversation this morning. There's pretty much a lot of stories to discuss this morning on wake-up conversation. There are stories of arrests and stories of someone evading arrest. I'm sure if you follow that story very closely, you would have, heard that a very popular person has been and was wanted by the EFCC.
Oh, yes.
It was said that she, in quotes, had spent a lot of money. There are cases of alleged money laundering. There are stories of her having celebrated a birthday party for a long time, of which videos also emerged and showed the governor who was
in
there.
Grenada.
Yes, in Grenada, and it was expensive. There are different stories, different interpretation to this story. But the highlight is that the EFCC has started work all over again. When we say started work, it's not that they've not been working, but now they started making a long list of arrests. E-Money was also allegedly arrested.
For Naira mutilation.
Yes.
I have my
2 days
own
ago.
reservations for
Please,
that.
let's talk about that very quickly before we come to
Yes.
the reservations about E-Money.
Exactly.
Yeah, he was spraying pounds. He wasn't even spraying Naira. And it was said that it was alleged that his leg touched Naira that was on the
That thing
floor.
was so ridiculous.
I mean, EFCC, your Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, look, corruption is one of the biggest issues dealing with Nigeria. And you focus on such non-issues like, I'm not saying it's right to mutilate the Naira, but the National Orientation Agency, Ministry of Information can do public service enlightenment. It's not, it shouldn't be, you shouldn't go, exactly, it's beginning to look a little targeted. And then your energy should be on other, like your main responsibility. It's so petty. Are you going to go to all the marketplaces, the women that put mutilated Naira inside their bra and start harassing them?
It just feels like they're constantly on Instagram and TikTok looking at videos to say,
that's even worse. I mean, it's ridiculing the mandate of the EFCC.
What happened with the Nnamdi Kanu boys when they were using
and if you're going to
create content and do all that, let's not be
you should
selective.
follow through.
Let's not be selective in our justice, really. But it's just really a number of people, and I don't blame them when it starts to now bring tribal colorations to conversations like this.
I mean, because what is good for the goose should be good for the gander.
Exactly.
You had a situation, a clear violation on video, abuse of a policeman, which was even worse. The policeman was holding the money for them, like a houseboy. And, you know, the case was swept under the table.
And then you arrested
and then you arrest someone for his leg just
They actually arrested the police
Naira.
officer and they called him for,
so it's really not fair. Justice is blind, and justice shouldn't be biased.
Shouldn't be selective at all.
Or selective.
It's a big case, but then again, it calls to mind the same statements people have been making about the EFCC. Is the EFCC a hunt watchdog? In other words, are they being used by, of course, those in power? It seems like as soon as another person comes into power, as long as it's the number one citizen that has the power to put who is supposed to fight corruption,
it won't be independent.
Almost everyone has said it's not going to work.
Right.
It should be independent so that even you, the president, can be called out by the EFCC. They can tell you, Oga, we've seen that you're spending these money. Where's the proof? We need you to explain to us. Just like what you have, what are they called? Our guys who sue regularly.
Serap.
Yeah, Serap. It's supposed to be like a Serap. Surreptitious, wow. It's supposed to be like a Serap position where you just go ahead and call negativity out, but I don't understand.
And investigate the EFCC's Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The CBN should even be more concerned about the Naira mutilation or the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company that print the Naira. What is the business of EFCC with that? And it's very petty. There are very serious issues.
I mean, we have cases of white money that did not, white lion, I beg your pardon.
Exactly.
It seems the case
of
is dead.
Kogi State, yes. Once you join the ruling party, it said that deodorant will be used for your corruption case. But if you're opposition, they use a shell talks. Sorry, marketing. Shell talks is it doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly. That's what we used for back in the day. But just to come back to the case of Aisha, to say that her lawyers have said that she was not. She honored the EFCC's investigation. She knew that she had to be there. So she came there willingly, and they're surprised that if she came there willingly, why was she arrested? Why was she picked up at the airport? It's been reported now that she's declared a hunger strike within the EFCC custody. They will not eat until they do what needs to be done. Investigations are still ongoing.
These are clips of the
birthday party.
Oh
yes, she had such a frivolous, a lavish. I think lavish is the word. Lavish birthday celebration.
The difference between party. Party is when you arrange chairs and put canopy. This is what you call a birthday bash.
She's expected to be in court this morning. The EFCC has said that she has to be in court for the proceedings.
Olive.
This morning. So, I mean, Olive, take a look at this.
I challenge you. Your next birthday, you need to top this up.
Wow. I know I cannot afford
wow. Take a look.
Olive, we're here now. Wow. You have Odogu, 2 Odogus by your side.
Odogu Power. Very lucky.
What are you saying?
Just speak for yourself. I have family. Say who?
Well, it was a really lavish celebration that lasted for 1 week.
It was.
From one place to another. You know, they went to different islands. It just felt like people, of course, I think it brought a lot of spotlight. It put a lot of spotlight
on her. So you think the EFCC invitation is connected to this?
Well, it might be in some sense, because remember that in 2024, when she did her party, she celebrated it in Grenada, and then you would see that she went to, the guests were alternating between Calivini Island and Silver Sand. So it just felt like that 7-day extravaganza, when it's as lavish as that, in a way, it might draw attention. But of course, there's more to that, as there have been allegations against her. There were allegations against her for, corruption. Fraudulent allegations, and she's expected to appear in court. She was declared wanted in March 2025 over allegations bordering on criminal conspiracy and money laundering.
Yeah.
But we'll continue to follow up with the case and see where the next steps are. She's declared hunger strike, and we don't know what the next steps will be, but her lawyers are constantly speaking up and criticizing the way and manner her case has been handled. Well, let's move to another story.
Yeah, let's move to the next story. Well, I think just last week rather, here at Wake Up Conversations, we spoke deeply about the state of the nation, especially focused on Lagos State. How street urchins seem to have
I even did a Wake Up Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly. How they've taken over the state one way or the other. It's like every street, every corner, every area, you have them. And then you also have who I love to call the roamers. They just roam freely. You don't know what they do. You don't know who they are. These are people who can be used to perpetrate evil at any instance, because you're wondering, are they roaming to beg for money, or they're roaming to seek opportunities to steal?
Good.
So you don't really know. And the Lagos State decided to take action. There are videos circulating online where they decided to go to different, nook and crannies.
Hotspots.
Hotspots where these guys usually lounge and take some time to meditate, if you understand what I mean. Meditate with something in hand, and they decided to go there and clamp down on them, ensure they had arrests, about 71 of them. And the thing I don't understand about the header, when it came from Lagos State and the message, it said they are suspects. And I'm saying, suspects for what? It's better we just tag them and call them who they are. They're suspects for what? Are they suspects for criminal activity? If they're miscreants, they're miscreants.
Yeah, but this is also an indictment on us as a people. I mean, Lagos State can absorb, you know the migration patterns. People come into Lagos in thousands every other day without accommodation. They've turned the public spaces to their accommodation, and there's only so much. I mean, it's almost like they're breaking, the system is at its brink. So how do you absorb all of these people into society? It's also, able-bodied young men that have zero employment. We complain that we don't have food, that food is expensive, and all of this. What happened to farming? I think countries like Indonesia and Malaysia have this farming settlements. They built them, they have schools, entire communities, palm plantations where people work, they can send their kids to those schools. No able-bodied man or woman should be begging in 2025. You can put that energy into good use, and it's because of the lack of jobs and employment. That's why we see all the street urchins and area boys everywhere. That saying rings true all the time. The idle mind is the devil's playground.
It truly is.
Yeah.
It truly is. I mean, we've definitely had a problem with street urchins. It's a thing here in Lagos, almost like when you're driving the able-bodied young men who will be at your window. The squeegee boys will try to wipe your what's that thing called? Windshield.
Yeah, windshield.
Right? They're trying to wipe it because they want money. Beyond that, we see them just beyond begging. They're those that when you want to park, you go to an establishment that has a parking space, yet these street urchins want to collect money from you to park, almost like it's their right.
Yeah,
for you to do that.
There's a whole section of them. There are those that are even entitled. They feel you owe them something because, I mean, you look better than them, or they feel you've had a better life than them, so you have to drop something.
Or you were not there when they were.
Yes.
They were not there when you were parking, but you come out and they're like, now we did watch your car since.
So I wonder how women cope in Lagos, because if men like us feel harassed, and I really feel harassed, I don't like it when these guys just come up to me like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? Why are you hailing me? Did I tell you I'm a chief or something? Please just leave my side. Imagine what you'll be going through.
So I think for us women, we alternate, or for me, let me not speak for other women, I alternate between two extremes. Either I just keep a straight face and don't say anything because I don't want to talk, or I feel the urge to be unnecessarily nice and be like, oh God, no vex, so I do not come and beat me. Please, I no get, no vex, sorry. You know.
But if Lagos is a smart city, I think this is a smart move as well. So smart is good. But then again, some of the hot spots that they went to Victoria Island, Oniru, Ikoyi, Akpongbon. Yes, they went to Oniru, Akpongbon as well. I mean, you see them a lot in Oniru. I think they're always waiting for the Oba.
I think this is around that 4 points, if I'm not mistaken.
They also went. Bank. Exactly.
Area.
And they started at 12:30 a.m. in the middle of the night, while, like I said, they were actually, meditating. So they ensured that they caught them at that time. 71 suspects were arrested. They called them, and normalcy was restored to the affected areas. And I mean, that's pretty much it. But let's see what this would portend. Please let us know. Tweet us. There was a tweet by Honorable Tokunbo Wahab. He said, in continuation of the Lagos State Environmental Task Force team cleanup, enforcement operation, they got into that, and they got into this operation to rid the state of criminal elements. The agency set out at, of course, the time we mentioned, which is 12:30 a.m., and he mentioned the hotspots that they went to. During the raid exercise, a total number of 71 suspects were arrested and sanity was restored in the areas. All the suspects will be charged to court accordingly. That's what is being said. We are not here to just talk about this. We're also here to say well done. And I'm going to use this medium to say well done to Mr. Tokunbo Wahab. Why are we saying well done? It's high time. It's taking way too long. Lagos needs to be sanitized. It's not about sensitizing people, telling them what to do. It's about sanitizing, cleaning it up. We have too many people, like I said, who just are walking around and we don't know what will happen next. So if you are able to clear them, please, let's have more of these exercises. I remember
and also daytime raids too.
Yes.
Along that Lekki.
Yes, that Lekki. You see
corridor,
that Lekki from
traffic lights
down to Ajah. You find.
I mean, down to Freedom Way.
Freedom Way junction.
Yes, yes, Freedom Way. You have them. It's like, have you guys been to Ajah as well? It's like Ajah now is the hub for I think is the epicenter for beggars.
Can it be as bad as Freedom Way?
It's bad. No, it's bad. Trust me, it's bad. It's worse. It's worse. You have, in a day, you have over 35 beggars in a stretch. And I don't mean just beggars. Families. Mother,
kids
4 children,
on the highway.
4 children. Then you have these
serious
guys.
danger.
It's danger.
And they're using them as a business model. They some of them rent twins, baby twins, to go beg with. It's a whole racket. And the government needs to do something about it. You shouldn't allow parents to abuse their children or put them in danger in such a manner.
I just wanted to highlight before we wrap this up. Sorry, Benga. I remember Governor Fashola's time. I witnessed it with my own eyes. Remember the governor then of Lagos State, that's Governor Fashola said that he doesn't want to see people who don't belong to the state. In other words, the street urchins, everybody coming in, the area boys and so on. But he didn't really touch on the area boys per se, let's be clear. But he touched on the fact that you had these migrants who were coming to beg. I saw trucks parked and he was parking these people. They were parking these people, they were raiding them, throwing them into the trucks and taking them out of Lagos. And then it caused a little fracas between himself and of course other state governors who said, why are you bringing these people back? He said, once identify, what state are you from? And he said, I'm from Ondo. Oh yeah, back to Ondo. And then they moved them back. And I think Lagos should be able to do that. It's not because Nigerians are not free to move around anywhere, but you cannot move from one place to the other, causing trouble and mayhem for a state and ensuring that you're also a problem, a liability to the state as well. you know.
Right. I think we'll move to our final story.
Okay, and I think that's PDP National Working Committee. Is it?
Yes, it is.
They had a conversation. They're looking at considering some recommendations, hopefully. Now, from yesterday up until now, if you also watched the News Central, which I believe you did, one of our primetime shows, which is Politics HQ, you had personalities come and speak, talking about the death of PDP, saying the party is indeed gone. It's not a party that you can revitalize, revamp, you know, or resuscitate. It's dead. It's gone. And the former vice presidential candidate, who has now eloped to, I don't want to use move for him, let's just say, because you're carrying something to run away from. You're taking people's mandate, you know.
Exactly.
Like, you know, he has moved anyway to the APC. He said he regretted having played the role of a vice presidential candidate to a former vice president.
It's so easy to speak after
presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. He regrets that it's something he wishes he never did. And from that statement, many have said, because of this breakout from the party, it seems like we're going to hear an announcement very soon that the party has indeed hit a state of coma.
I don't think that they're going to ever come to that announcement. Okay, so just I think that yes, it's a really tough time for the PDP, but I don't think that they are completely, they've lost every fight.
Yes, they still have
right?
a number of governors.
They still have a bite.
So just to mention that the PDP NWC has set a meeting for the 11th of May, and at this meeting, part of what will be discussed is this main issue of governors who have defected to other parties, particularly the APC. And they're going to look for ways to sort of stall defection. I don't know how that's going to happen, because every governor has a right to defect. Every person has a right to freedom of association with whatever political party they want to. But the challenges with the PDP, I would believe that the major challenges started to shine when people felt like the PDP had lost control. When it felt like, first of all, there were forces within the PDP that stood as a force. Remember G5, when it felt like the G5 held the PDP to ransom. And then the PDP found a way, it felt like they couldn't discipline the G5. They moved on from the G5 governors. Then former Governor Nyesom Wike now became a principality and power within the PDP, almost like voice of, you know, body of Esau, voice of, body of Isaac. What was brother of Esau?
Esau and Jacob.
Body of Jacob, voice of Esau, something like that, or body of Esau, voice of Jacob. So that's what it felt like Wike was doing. In one political party, but looking like he's serving the interest of another political party. When people, even political bigwigs, political stalwarts, had said that the most important thing for them at the time was to take a strong stand to discipline Wike, the PDP could not. The PDP still cannot. So if the PDP has not been able to stand strong and say, you know what, we're standing our ground, you've acted in ways that are contrary to the party, ways that will see as anti-party. What you've shown is that anything goes. It's like with children.
Don't worry, Olive, on May 11th, they will shock you.
Exactly.
They'll give you answers to all those questions.
Hopefully. Because it's like a child. When children will always test your boundaries. They do something, you don't do anything about it. They do another thing, you don't do anything about it. Soon they learn that you have no boundaries and that they can go as far as they want. I think that may be the challenge with the PDP, because people have started to see it as a party that does not have strong disciplinary and punitive measures for every members. But
anyway. Well, I guess we'll have more of these conversations as we proceed, but it's time for us to bring to you what our top stories would be today. And today we have a very special, yes, we call it a special segment here on Breakfast Central. We'd like you to stay put and ensure you join us. You could tweet us. You could also react to the story. We'll be looking at the exorbitant rate of, quote, house rent in Lagos State. Our focus will be on Lagos State to look at the rent. We'll also discuss this, clean up in Lagos State, because we will be having someone from the Lagos State, government join us here on the show. We'll also be looking at how much you should be saving up to pay for rent in a short while. All of these and many more. But let's tell you what we'll be discussing in the course of today's show here on Breakfast Central. Take a look at the top stories for today. Our top stories this morning addressing surge in rent prices in Lagos. The conversation we're going to have, and we'd like you to join us and also experience it. NNPCL on the fire as $897 million Warri refinery revamp flops. Very interesting conversation too. Governor Oborevwori's defection. Is APC consolidating the South-South? And then court adjourns Nnamdi Kanu's trial to May 2nd. These stories and many more is what we'll have. Not forgetting the front pages of the newspapers where you can be part of it as well. Stay put. Breakfast Central begins in a moment.
The trial of the leader of the proscribed Indigenous Peoples of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, resumed at the Federal High Court in Abuja yesterday. During proceedings, the federal government, represented by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Adegboyega Womolo, presented key witnesses responsible for the arrest of Kanu in 2015, who testified on his activities bordering on the operation of Radio Biafra. Our correspondent Joshua Imarayi was in court and now reports.
The detained leader of the proscribed Indigenous People of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, appeared before the Federal High Court in Abuja on Tuesday as his trial resumed before Justice James Omotosho. At the commencement of proceedings, the prosecution presented his first witness, an operative of the Department of State Services identified only as AEA. The witness, who testified behind the screen to protect his identity, told the court that he led the team that arrested Kanu in Lagos on October 14, 2015. The witness also submitted video recordings of Kanu's interrogation, along with an extrajudicial statement in which Kanu allegedly admitted to establishing Radio Biafra in London without registering it with Nigerian authorities. The court also admitted in evidence 4 suitcases said to contain items recovered during the 2015 arrest, including personal effects and broker's equipment reportedly used for Radio Biafra. At the close of proceedings, Kanu's legal team and associate gave their reactions over what transpired in court.
We thank God that the matter has eventually kicked off without rancor. You know, you needed to have been in court to observe the proceedings. All the parties cooperated, and PW1 testified. PW1 is Mr. AAA, as he was designated. He investigated the matter 10 years ago. And today he came and gave his evidence and tendered documents.
We are finally here. The government is finally having the trial that it desires. Our position still remains unchanged despite the ongoing trial. That our client is innocent of the charges, that the case is driven by political considerations, and in the end, the innocence of our client will be established.
I've seen a change in our system, a very dignified, honorable judge, conducting every proceeding with respect, very respectful, honorable man. I was so impressed. I couldn't believe I was in there, listening to how he conducted the hearing.
The matter has been adjourned to Friday, May the 2nd, for cross-examination of the prosecution's witness by the Defense Counsel. In Abuja for News Central, I am Joshua Imarayi.
We'll continue with the conversation as we get more updates, but now we move to Delta State. Governor Oborevwori's defection has been described as one that's not just a personal decision, but is also a mass exodus. Alongside him, his predecessor, Dr. Ifeanyi Okowa, and the entire PDP structure in Delta State crossed over to the APC. Now, many will say that this is indeed unprecedented. We're talking about a complete collapse of the PDP's dominance in Delta State, a party that has held sway for nearly 26 years, a move the governor called a movement, not just a defection. The question that has been on a lot of people's minds is, why now? What triggered this mass exodus from the PDP, a party that has dominated Delta State for over 2 decades? Now, joining us this morning to shed more light on this move and the decisions behind the scenes that led to the governor decamping or shifting his base is the Honorable Commissioner of Information in Delta State, Charles Aniago. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning, and thanks for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. Mr. Aniago, can you share with us, we know that the former governor has shared his thoughts as to the defection, and even the current governor as well. But from your perspective, as we have started to see different explanations as to the reason why these governors and these members of the People's Democratic Party have decamped, but from where you stand, what would you say the reasons are?
Well, thank you very much. Let me make it clear that there are no different explanations on the subject matter. All the issues that we have raised, we agree with one another that the reasons even in the course of your intro this morning, you have made it very, very clear. I watched you earlier this morning where you were talking about the challenges that the PDP has encountered since over 2 years now, and those challenges have remained quite intractable. We have said that in Delta, the PDP, as at the time we moved, was very, very strong. So in which case, even if you had conducted an election, anytime, any day, the political family will win that election. But that it was obvious that even if we win that election, given what is happening at the national headquarters, which had remained something that we could describe as intractable, it was going to be possible for any other party to proceed to court and then possibly take that victory from our hands. And then we referenced what happened in Zamfara in 2019, which I want to believe you are very much aware of, and we don't want that to happen in Delta. Secondly, being a very major contributor to the national pulse, for almost 10 years, we have been in the opposition, and whether we like it or not, there are certain advantages that you have when you are connected to the center that will also be able to derive that advantage in full when we're also connected to the center. So that's why we said that we took this decision in the best interest of our state. Like they say, every politics is local. So we have taken the decision, believing that we are going to be able to bring those dividends of democracy much more to our people, sustain the development efforts in our states, and at the same time, being able to reach out to our brothers in other parts of the country, specifically the other 35 states and the Federal Capital Territory. So those are some of the reasons why this decision was taken by the leaders and stakeholders of the PDP family before 2 days ago.
Thank you very much, Honorable Anyaku. I would like to take you on the statement you made that there are resources that accrue to the state when connected to the center. Delta State is an oil-producing state. It's very rich. It's held its sway for 26 years of the PDP, almost 26 years. And you also get derivation funds. So people are questioning what advantage really could you have? And when the governor of Lagos, the president, when it was governor of Lagos State, it was in opposition for 16 years, and he still managed to achieve what it did in Lagos. So could you share with us what sorts of benefits the Delta State people will now enjoy now that they're in alignment with the central APC government in Abuja?
Well, let me start from the point you referenced, Lagos. When Lagos was in the opposition, the coastal highway did not start from Lagos. When Lagos was in the opposition, at a time, the council funds were seized by the federal authorities. There is a saying in where I come from that when you are involved in the business of rabbit hunting, of course, you know rabbits live in holes, that it is the leaves that are very close to that hole that you are going to use to block the exit point of that rabbit. You don't go hunting from a very distant place because it is those around you. So what that means is that the moment you are on the same platform with the president everywhere in the world, even in the United States, there is a tendency that you are going to have more opportunity to meet with the president and meet with the presidency, connect with those at the center. Two, when ministers were being appointed, of course, you know how they were appointed. They are largely from members of the same political party. When different boards are being constituted, they are usually constituted from members of the same political party. So when you are not in that environment, that table where some of those federal resources are being distributed, whether you like it or not, there is the tendency that you are not going to benefit as much as those who are on the same platform, more or less seen as brothers, politically speaking. And so I don't want to believe that that is something of contest, that if you're on the same platform with the federal authorities, you are likely going to benefit more. And we're interested in that benefit because today, Delta contributes much more than any other state to the federal pulse. And I know you understand why that is so, being #1 oil-producing states in our country. And secondly, we have also made it very, very clear that we don't want to get involved in an examination as a brilliant student, having very wonderful lecturers. And at the end of the day, we're in a department where the course is not accredited by the NUC. And you know what I mean? That as members of the PDP, we were sure that we were going to be able to win election in Delta anytime, any day. But with what was happening in our federal, in our NWC, and even the NEC, we were not too sure that we will not be like that student who is undertaking a course that is not accredited by the NUC. Because by the time that happens, no matter how brilliant you are, no matter the flying colors that you might be met with, it is going to be work done equals zero. Because I have referenced Zamfara example. You also recall what happened even in Bayelsa, sometimes about 6 years ago, when David Lyon won the election, but because of what was seen as a comma in the names of the deputy, just less than a few hours to inauguration, the Supreme Court made its pronouncement, and that was what paved way for Governor Deudiri to become the governor of Bayelsa. You do know up to today, he's described as the miracle governor. We don't want such kind of miracle to happen in Delta. We want to win and also to be able to be in power and continue to deliver on the dividends and the promises we have made to our people.
So it's really about...
We're talking politics here, and that is what we're playing.
So are we agreeing that at the end of the day, there's an element of self-preservation ahead of 2027 that is fueling this move?
Do you go into an examination with intention to fail? It's not about self-preservation. It is about politics. That how do you go into an election knowing that even when you win, there is going to be a comma? That cannot be reasonability. If you know that there is going to be some challenges, anybody, anytime, you don't just, you are coming to the office this morning, you prepared, hoping by the grace of God you'll be able to get to the office. If you were told last night that the vehicle that is going to possibly take you to the office, that midway, that vehicle is going to break down because there is no fuel, are you not going to take action and make sure that you fuel the vehicle so that you can get to your destination? What we did is to ensure that the vehicle that is taking us to the destination that we have been able to put out, they have enough fuel to take us to our destination. We cannot ignorantly just board the vehicle and knowing that it does not have enough petrol to take us to where we want to go to, and then we set out for that journey. That will not be good thinking. So it's a question of understanding that our destination is to be able to win election, form government, and deliver on the promises we have made. So if that is our goal, to be able to deliver on those promises and sustain the development trajectory that the Oborevwori administration is bringing to bear in Delta, how do you think that we will just sit back?
And I hear you. I hear you on the desire to win, but some of the sentiment we've seen expressed among Nigerians would be the fact that at the end of the day, there's a concern about values alignment, and is the administration, are these leaders who have moved to another political party concerned about an alignment in values, or is the goal just really about winning elections? Is it that they believe that this political party that they have moved to is moving in line with what their dreams and their vision for the progress of the state would look like?
I have also listened to this argument that you just put forward, and I am finding it difficult to understand what it means. I have heard people who are talking about the movement being on the grounds of personal interest. And I ask, what is the personal interest? If the interest is to win in an election, when you are in the other party where you are moving from, is the interest not also to win an election? If in that party where you are moving from, you are sure you are not going to win that election, you will just say because individuals will ask you to remain in one place, which is why I keep giving an example of vehicle, somebody traveling to a destination. First, for you to understand these issues, you must come to realize that there is a goal. What is the goal? To continue to provide good governance. If you lose an election, you are out of that particular seat where you can provide that good governance and make your own contribution. And if where you are very, very sure that you are not going to be able to win an election, or when you win, that election will have what Obasanjo described as K-leg in the case of Rotimi Amechi in 2007. Are you going to just sit back and allow the K-leg syndrome to affect you? Wisdom presupposes that you should be able to analyze all scenarios. In medicine, at its root is diagnosis. Any doctor that proceeds to prescribe any medication without diagnosis is either playing with his profession or is putting the patient at risk. Politically, we have carried out the diagnosis of the issue at hand, and we have been able to come to that prescription that moving out of the PDP was quite inevitable. And that is what we did. And so we did it in the best interest of our state. I have continued to make it clear that every politics is local, except you want us to just sit back and allow ourselves to be cut down. It is only the tree that can do that. We are human beings that have ability to reason. And so that is what we have done. We have reasoned that this movement will make it possible for us to write this exam, pass the exam, and not suffer the consequences of lack of accreditation. That is why we took that decision. And let me also make it very clear. I've heard individuals talking about philosophy, value, which you have also mentioned here. Value system, philosophies, ideologies are not what you wake up one day and you put it in place. Societies evolve, ditto institutions. I want to remark here that about 10 years ago, there was nothing like News Central in Nigeria. I recall also that about 35 years ago, it was just only NTA that held sway in the broadcast industry and FRCN. Over time, the society evolved. There was some re-engineering of the institution under the Babangida administration, and then we have some form of a liberalization of the broadcast industry. What am I trying to say here? That over time, as the society evolves, you begin to see re-engineering of institutions. Politics will also evolve. A time will come when this realignment of forces will begin to now lead to development of character. It is the development of the political character that will now navigate towards having what we may call political ideology. If you are talking about political ideology, except we are lying to ourselves, today where we sit, we do not have what we may call ideological leaning. There are, before now, we could begin to see that the PDP was tending towards what you have in US, as in the case of the Republican Party, having some capitalistic orientation. While the All Progressive Congress and a number of other parties have some form of democratic values, where you do have issues of societal assistance. You see it doling out of funds to be able to help people. But over time, these different philosophies will develop and define the political parties. When they define those political parties, individuals will queue under that character. It is the queuing under that character that now begin to give up the ideological leaning that we are talking about. But at the moment, we are still passing through some form of evolutionary period. This evolutionary period will one day lead to institution having to have a definition of character by way of ideological leaning. So let us begin to understand that at any given time, societies evolve, value system evolve, character evolve, and once it gets to that peak where there is that kind of evolution, you would have been able to see the kind of thing we are looking forward to. Even in America, where they do have ideological leaning, you do know that the Republican Party today and even the Democratic Party is also undergoing some form of re-engineering.
Well, Honorable, I mean, some people would argue that you use the analogy of the car that's having issues and you could plan ahead, knowing that to stop on the road. Some will argue that since you knew, you could have fixed it, before you start your journey. But that's one thing to look at. Another thing is, I mean, the National Working Committee is threatening to, sue the governor for taking the people's mandate, moving away from PDP to the APC. And let me also ask you, Honorable, is the APC the only political party to move into? There's SDP as well. I mean, there's APGA, the other political parties.
Labour Party.
I mean, there's Labour Party. Why the APC? Because everyone is saying that it's simple. It's just to move to the APC, who, formerly they were viewed as a party that you would never go to, but now you are moving there. So why didn't you choose any other party? Why didn't the governor choose to go to another party? Why the APC? Soft landing?
Thank you very much. Let me start from the rear. That is the last question. So it does appear that the problem that you may have with our movement is not the issue of the movement, but where we move to. And so if we agree that there was a need to move, then I want to say now we're on the same page. As to where we decide to move to, that was also based on our diagnosis, which led to the prescription that the direction to move to is to be able to tap into that central nervous system, where we'll be able to have all our body system working through the vertebral column right from the brain and then distributing the necessary ingredients that you may have eaten. When you eat and the food goes through your mouth and land in your stomach, how come it's able to feed other parts of the body? So we want that feeding, that food, which is stored in our stomach to be able to service them. So, nervous system becomes very, very enriched. In any way, fit into the central nervous system. It is only APC today that is running the central government. And so we couldn't have moved into a much more smaller political parties and not be able to tap into the resources that exist at the center. I want to believe that answers that aspect of your question. You also talk about why don't you fix the vehicle. You do know that before now, policemen, when they stop you on the road, they ask you what of your engine number and then what of your chassis number. But over time, they discover that the only thing that is supposed to be permanent to that vehicle is largely the chassis number. Because the time comes when your engine drops, and then what you do is that you now proceed to buy another engine. Particularly, why do you buy that engine? It is because you have gotten to a level where even repairing that existing engine becomes very, very difficult. I have had calls in the course of my interview with a sister station, informed them that when we started this whole thing, when the whole challenge started, sometime, some 2.5 years ago, we thought that it was an issue of a puncture tire in the vehicle. But as we progress and we try to mend it, we get the services of organizers, political organizers to mend the puncture tire. And as we progressed, we saw that it was not just a question of puncture tire, and that the brain box is seriously corrupted. If you take a look at the issues you have even mentioned in the course of your opening this morning, about the number of times the party have tried to hold its next meeting, and it couldn't hold, not because there was too much rainfall that prevented members to come, but because there was some form of political sunshine combined with rainfall at the same time that made it very difficult for them to be able to meet. Those forces that made it difficult for them to meet is still very much prevalent. And so, continuing along that line meant that we are not able to understand the diagnosis that we have carried and possibly will not be able to prescribe appropriately. So those are the reasons why those decisions were taken, and we're quite confident that where we are now, where we stand at the moment, that we're in a better position.
Honorable Commissioner, thank you for your anatomical and mechanical analogy. But you left out a question my colleague asked, and that's about the people. This is a democracy. Democracy is the government of the people, for the people, by the people. Where are ordinary Deltans in all of this? Because when they went to the polls the last time, it was the umbrella they trumpeted for. And now the umbrella has switched to the broom without much consideration or consultation for the people. And that's why I put this question to you. The most important factor here should be Deltans. The reason why all these moves are happening is to provide a better lease of life for ordinary Deltans. So where do the ordinary people stand in all of this political equation?
The analogies I gave you is also about human beings. It is human beings that drive vehicles and take decisions as to where they are driving to.
Where are the passengers?
The central nervous system that I talked about is about human beings. So what I'm telling you is that we are talking about political party also exist in societies. Now, coming to the issue of consultation, we did not just wake up one day and decide that we're going to move. First, you have what you call organs of the political party. We first brought all the different organs, the caucus of the party, the members of the House of Assembly, all appointees, starting from the commissioners, all the leaders of the party, present and past, the party itself, the leadership of the party itself, that is including the state chapter, including the different local government chapter, and of course, up to the ward level. All these wide consultation, including local government chairmen, both at the level of the party and at the level of the council. They were this consultation with even members of the National Working Committee, National Executive Committee of the party who are from Delta State. And thereafter, having had this very serious consultation with these stakeholders, we proceeded straight to the local government level, where meetings were held by the different leaders of the local government and the members of the party. General meeting was called. After that, we didn't stop at that. We will ask leaders to proceed to their different wards. And from the wards, the message also went down to the unit, which is the smallest composition when you talk about political processes in our country. By the time we were going to the units, we were meeting more of our people. At the level of the world, we were interacting with the people. We informed them. They agreed with us that we needed to move. And so when people talk about constitution and democracy, what we did in Delta is much more democratic than whatever you can think of, because the governor and the former governor did not just wake up and say, let us move. Otherwise, at the official defection day, you would have seen that the venue wouldn't have been that populated. But you saw the number of people that came. People were absent because all of them had somehow not this fear that if we win, which we know we win, because we hold sway, and that tells you that we operated and moved from point of strength. So we didn't want to wear even that strength. We just be likened to that student I told you, very intelligent,
all right,
but writing an exam on the course that is not accredited. So we consulted very widely. So it's about the people. They agreed with us, and we had to move.
Honorable, you said that the governor and the former governor did not just wake up. Do you have an idea when they decided that they wanted to defect?
I am telling you that it was consultation.
No, I'm just asking for a time frame.
No, they didn't get to a conclusion. I mentioned that almost every data in the PDP had had this apprehension based on what was lingering, the challenge, political challenge that was lingering at the party headquarters.
I hear you, and I think
you this morning,
yes,
even you this morning, alluded to the fact that the party was not even able to discipline those that were seen to have engaged in anti-party.
And I completely understand, but I don't think that this is the answer to my question, sir. My question is, at what point did they know they were going to defect? Was it this year? Was it last year? Was it 2 years ago?
I just told you that there was a consultation. It was a product of that consultation.
When?
Different individuals.
When?
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Different individuals in the party have been nursing the fear, including these leaders, because they are also in Nigeria. And individuals, they say, man, talk to man, man, listen. Individuals have been having that, listen, what do we do? How do we navigate through this murky water? Until it came to a head, the way we now came together, all of us, at a stakeholders meeting, and I'm happy, in the course of this interview, you have played excerpts of the consultation, what's it called, the day we had the consultation, because I saw the visuals you played, to show that many people were there. And I'm sure in that visual, it is not only the former governor and the present governor that you saw that were in that meeting. Every person that was in that meeting are critical stakeholders that came from different local governments, who at the end of the day took the message, and that was not the only meeting. We had more than 6 different classes of meetings cutting across different, including non-indigens,
okay,
including the religious group in Delta.
So, I think that you're driving at the fact that you consulted far and wide. What I was trying to ask was, did these consultations happen in the space of 1 year? Did it happen in the space of 2 years? I think that's the question I'm trying to drive at.
It couldn't have happened in the space of 1 year. How can you be consulting that kind of issue for 1 year? I said everybody already had lost the fear. So even before even bringing us together, individuals were already having some thoughts. There are even those who have even moved earlier. Reason that, look, the way this party is going, they may not be able to realize certain political goals.
All right, so the reason I was asking,
have been moving.
Maybe I should share with you the reason I was asking why and the duration this consultation took place, because you did make reference to having had another interview. I recall that you were on Arise TV in January, and in the interview you were very strongly saying that the governor will not defect. In fact, in a number of statements there, you said, for those individuals who think PDP is going into extinction, I think that is the height of malaria-induced dream. You then mentioned as well that Oborevwori is not in the business of jumping. So there were a number of statements that were made in January, and now in April it's a different song. What happened in the space of 3 months?
Thank you very much that you mentioned January and you mentioned April. Even by way of spelling, they are not the same.
That's why I was asking for the time frame.
Hold on. Just hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. In the course of my analysis earlier, I told you that initially we thought that the vehicle that we're in was having a puncture tire challenge. And oftentimes we brought in vulcanizers. What does that mean? That we thought the challenges we were having are things that we can easily, in the course of time, deal with. And not also forget, there is a timeline. Between now and just about a year to come, the primaries of the different political parties will take place. And candidates are supposed to emerge. So which means our destination is known. So if you continue to mend this tire, if it were to just be the issue of just tire, you know you can just jump in somewhere and buy a fresh tire and then possibly get the vehicle moving. But I mentioned that over time, it moved from having puncture tire to challenge of the brain box, which is more or less the central nervous system of any vehicle. It's just like when your brain is challenged, every other part of your body is going to have some form of challenge as well. So, my sister, in January, we were still mending the tires, hoping that the organizers will fix it. But when the governors of the PDP converged on Ibadan and took a decision that a party that was operating from a weak point cannot match, cannot collaborate with other interests, and were very busy inviting other interests, if they are interested, to come and join them. That is not the position you take from point of weakness. That is a position you take from point of strength. The moment we saw that, we were not too sure who our governors at that level were working for. And so that was more or less the last straw that broke the camel's back. Because we were hoping that from where we were, that what would have been able to save our party.
Yeah, you there?
From the challenge of a puncture tire, is that we were going to be able to collaborate with other interests. And so when our governors, of course, you know how important the governors are in any political party, when they took that step, from a point of weakness of our party, we knew that they were not placing the party on the point of competitiveness. Because you need to be competitive for you to say, okay, in the next election, if we remain here, not only that we win in that, we are also having the likelihood of also winning at the center, so that we form the central government. That is the target of any of the political parties, particularly in Nigeria. We look forward to being able to win the central government so that indeed we're able to take the advantage of the entire political structure. But the position of our governors, persons we believe would have been able to cure the party of the challenges we were having, now infusing much more a challenge that could be seen as a virus introduced into the brain box. So we advised ourselves, we carried out a diagnosis, and then we came with the prescription that you saw that reflected by way of movement.
All right.
All right.
We unfortunately have to wrap up. We thank you for your time. We, of course, will continue to follow up with the defections and the updates regarding the APC in Delta State. I mean, it will be interesting to see how things turn out and how the governor can collaborate with the APC this time.
My sister, we have already moved. Don't be following defection. Follow the development in Delta. Our development trajectory has been phenomenal. So follow what we are doing. Are we going to lose steam, or we're going to gather more energy?
Well,
so
we'll get to find out.
Does not bring development.
I think we'll get to find out as time proceeds. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Honourable Commissioner.
All right.
Okay. Well, wonderful conversation there. But let's quickly move on and let you know that as Nigeria inches closer to the 2027 general elections, the political space is witnessing a fresh wave of realignments, just like the conversation we just had now, with several opposition figures as well defecting to the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. Well, former vice presidential candidate Ifeanyi Okowa and Delta State Governor Sheriff Oborevwori are among the latest to cross over, fueling concerns about the strength and future of opposition politics. In an exclusive interview with News Central, the national chairman of the Social Democratic Party, Shehu Gabam, described the defections as an outdated strategy deployed by politicians solely for self-preservation. He warned that Nigeria risks sliding into a one-party state and also raised concerns over alleged attempts to destabilize the Social Democratic Party. Take a listen.
We galvanize this country to ensure that democratic institutions are being strengthened, the rule of law are being strengthened, internal democracy are being strengthened. I find it very disheartening in a situation where people are being somehow coerced for one reason or the other, or simply because they have been in public office. They breach one or two processes, they are under investigation, and they become a soft target for political instrument and coercion to leave their own parties to join another party. This is not just the first time it is happening. It started during the PDP government, where governors due to insecurity or due to fear of the unknown after leaving office. Most of them that are in second time as governors defected to the PDP as of then. A lot defected to PDP. So it is the same old practice that is applying today. It wasn't as if it's a new innovation or a new system of defection from one end to the other.
Well, those are the points, and we can expect more defections, guys. They said we've not seen it all.
Just 2 years. Yeah, this is the first wave of the defections, and as we inch closer to 2027, expect a tsunami of defections. People will be changing. He spoke about just changing brain box. People will be changing Wi-Fi, changing side mirror, changing, everything. And I asked about the passengers. And his response was, within the PDP, the structure of the PDP, they widely consulted. Yeah. But I'm talking millions of Deltans. But I believe, Daddy knows best. The politicians know best. And they will make decisions in the best interest of the people.
In this same conversation, interestingly, in another interview, the interview I referenced in January, where he had said, he talked about the APC and the APC struggling within Delta State and saying part of the reason why the APC is struggling in Delta State is because Governor Sheriff Oborevwori used to respond with projects. I wish we had more time. I'd have asked him. So he basically was alluding to the fact that APC wasn't doing well in Delta State because Governor Sheriff was, answering them with projects. So my question would have been, again, what has changed by April? Are they now, how are they going to collaborate? Which was why I asked the question about values. That would you say there's a merger of values, but is it a selfish interest? Is it, I just want to win the seat, really? I just want to win the seat. And
let me answer those resources alignment with the center. So
yes, but like you did say, the people of Delta State are the most important pieces in the puzzle. And I hope that at the end of the day, if they believe that Governor Sheriff Oborevwori and the PDP structure moving to the All Progressives Congress is in the interest of the state, if they believe that having moved, they're seeing workings and they're seeing that he's delivering the mandate on which he promised to be governor, then it's up to them to decide.
Drive the car to the promised land.
And if it's not, they have till 2027 to decide if they want that marriage to continue. It's their choice. But then again, I think the analogy is best fit in terms of decisions taken by the governor and his entire cabinet. But let's give you a recap of what we've talked about this first hour. As we gear up into the second hour, don't forget we have a special also coming up, but let's take a look. So far, so good. We've talked about...
Yes, Delta defections, loyalties or leverage. You spoke to the Honorable Commissioner of Information in Delta State. SDP chairman reacts to wave of defections, and court adjourns Nnamdi Kanu's trial to the 2nd of May. Coming up next this morning on Breakfast Central, NNPCL on the fire as $897 million Warri refinery tap fund to... We'll bring you the newspaper front pages. You stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. It seems the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, or NNPCL, is facing some serious heat over the Warri refinery revamp.
After spending a staggering $897 million on the refurbishment, the refinery seems has reportedly flopped. This morning, joining us for the discussion is Adiola Yusuf, Team Lead Platforms Africa. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. I think the question would be, did this refinery ever even, kick off? We saw reports on social media at the time when they were celebrating the revamp of the refinery, and, did it ever kick off? What exactly happened from your perspective?
Okay, thank you very much. I think to answer that question, what we need to rely on what we have had, people from that refinery say. I will start by quoting the members of Mpeng. I think the chairman of Mpeng, Mpengasan, stating that refinery actually came to life. And even though we've been hearing other reports from the social media, we couldn't lay hand on anyone that is credible to refute the fact that that refinery actually came to life. And you will not blame a lot of people that received that story. I mean, that news with some kind of holding back to that story. Actually, what one will see is because for a long time, Nigerians have actually faced the trust deficit. A lot of money, running into billions of dollars have been, budgeted for turnaround maintenance for that facility. And at the end of the day, people couldn't see anything. Maybe that was what fueled, the way people receive that news. But if you want to look at it based on information from Nupengasan, based on information, from the NMPC, information that one can, see people behind with proper attribution, you will agree that that refinery, actually started work. And if the news we're having now is showing that, the refinery, flopped after the initial, re-engineering, it shows that that refinery actually came to life when they say it came to life.
I mean, the last 20, 30 years, it's not the first time we're hearing such a report. And it's not just attributed to Warri Refinery, Kaduna Refinery. We spent billions of dollars since the Obasanjo administration on turnaround maintenance, only to see that this refineries don't even work. It's a drain on resources. From your experience as an oil industry expert, is it about time what will it take to stop this cycle of wastage? Or can these refineries really be fixed? Because like you alluded to the fact that when the initial news came out, there were lots of doubters. There's such a huge trust deficit. So now, what will be the best decision to make? Should we just sell those refineries or just give up on them and stop throwing money at them in the name of turnaround maintenance?
Thank you very much for that question. I'll answer that question looking at two angles. The first angle is the angle of the initial asset manufacturer. Those that put that refineries to life. I had the privilege of interfacing with one of them at the Houston, Texas offshore technology conference. And the feeler we had was that as far as they were concerned, that refinery, they cannot come to do the turnaround maintenance for all the refineries in the country actually. The reason they gave was that the turnaround maintenance, which was supposed to be done regularly at intervals based on their own recommendation when they were handing over these refineries to the government, those turnaround maintenance were abandoned for a long time. And the simple explanation one can give to that is that if you have abandoned your car, you are not doing the maintenance of your car, that is changing of the engine and all that, which is the routine maintenance of the car. If you leave it for a long time, it will get to a state that what you need to now do is not to change the oil again, but to change the entire engine. So that takes me to the second, I want to use.
All right, we seem to have a little network connectivity challenge there with our guests. But I think, Binga, the point he was making is it's not just about... Okay, all right, good. It's back. You can go ahead, please.
So the second, thank you very much. The second angle to that issue, because I've cited the first one, that the original asset manufacturer, the OEM of those refineries, I've said that government contacted them to come and do the maintenance of that refinery, and they turned that offer off. I had that information directly from the OEMs, the original asset manufacturers. And the reason they gave, just like I said earlier, was that that refinery has been left for a long time without the routine turnaround maintenance. And that will take me to the second angle. So when you have left your car for a long time not changing the engine, it will get to a level or to a stage where what you need to do will not be to change the oil again, but to change the entire engine. So two areas the government can look into. First one is to do the overhaul, total overhaul of that refinery. That is one. And number two, if the government doesn't have the financial capacity, or the budget that the government has will not be able to cater for that. Maybe they have so many other things to do. The government should leave that responsibility off its neck. There was a time that the government of former President Obasanjo actually sold those refineries, and it's very maybe unfortunate or fortunate to talk about the fact that the owner of Dangote refinery now, Nnamdi Aliko Dangote, was one of those that won the Port Harcourt refinery. You understand? But eventually, Nigerians, the way they usually do, they went to meet the late president, former president Umaru Yar'Adua, and told him, convinced him that it's not a rocket science to turn the refinery around. And because of that, he revoked that license. We could see that is about so many years now, decades now, those refineries have been there, and we are seeing at this state that we are in now. So two ways government can go about it, just to answer your question. The first one is to do a total overhaul of that refinery. It is at a stage where we don't need to change the oil again. You want to use the car example, but to change the entire engine. So what that refinery will need, if government wants to keep it still in its armpit, is a total overhaul. Then if it's not doing that, if it doesn't have, it's not necessary that the government does that. So there are some people that are arguing that government has no business in business. But the government should just use that responsibility off its neck. Let the government sell these refineries. It is not that, the way some people will perceive that is that, why would people be clamoring for government to sell its asset? But truth be told, looking at everything on ground, what the best option that government can, adopt now is to invite those that can bring investment for the total overhaul of that refinery.
Well, you talked about total overhaul, but a lot of persons are still wondering. I mean, I'm worried because a total of about $897 million has been spent already to refine. Now, this is just one trench or aspect. Monies were already spent in previous times, previous administrations, to see how they can ensure that they maintain and bring the refineries back from moribund. But the Port Harcourt refinery also here is working at a capacity of 40%. And we've not even mentioned that of Kaduna. Do you think that these refinery issues, I mean, you've been following this very closely, these refinery issues, it's about time that we really go into it and bring out the truth. Many have also alluded to the fact that the boss who was just relieved of his duty, Mr. Kyari, was not telling Nigerians the truth, because there was a video, which I know you are aware of, where he categorically mentioned that the Kaduna, the Port Harcourt, and of course all the refineries will start working at maximum capacity. This is 2025. Today is the 30th, and we're seeing this story. What have you really seen that is wrong with our refineries in terms of the personalities that are managing it? Let's cut the chase and just say it the way it is.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a time of truth, the moment of truth, actually. First on the list of truths that we need to tell ourselves is that refining or refinery business is not, as lucrative as it's, a lot of people look at it. In fact, the profit margin or refinery, you can fact check this that I'm saying. The profit margin on refinery is the reason it's so low that, in some instances it's about 0.5%. And that explains the reason that, businesses don't, or investments don't go that way any longer. Why would you think, the Shell, the Chevron, ExxonMobil of this world will not invest in refinery if you think it's lucrative? So, fact that we need to first of all establish is that refinery business or refining business is not as lucrative as we think about it. And you can fact check this as well. A lot of refineries abroad are shutting down gradually. Some of their, they are shutting down some part of, the asset, the total asset. And a lot of them are winding down in actual sense because of the fact that, refinery business or refining business is not as lucrative as you think. Having established that, I am still wondering, why the government should, want to, and it maybe at the end of the day, we will still see that it may still be like we are still paying subsidy indirectly. Because if we are not paying subsidy on the product and we want to keep wasting money on refinery, who are we competing with? For what benefit? I think at this moment I'll call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has been doing his best. The oil and gas has seen, a serious, turnaround during his term. a lot of people have been, particularly the insiders, those of us that understand the industry very well, we have been seeing oil blocks, marginal oil fields being awarded, that's, for a long time we have been clamoring that we should see this. We could see the, appointments at the NMPC. We could see a lot of things happening. So I want to call on the president. The icing on the cake is to ensure that the wastage, maybe in the refinery and in every other aspect, it cuts that. And his policy, Nigeria should be at the focus of this policy. What benefit is it that so amount of money is being spent on quarry refinery to Nigerians? Of what benefit is it to Nigerians that we are still allotting or allocating certain amount of money to, Port Harcourt refinery, to Kaduna refineries? Of what benefit is it to Nigerians? If you go and do a bus stop, you see that what matters most to Nigerians is for them to be able to see the product, at cheaper price, and and let the product be available in all the nooks and crannies of the country. If that is done, we are fine. We are home and dry. So the wastage on subsidies, which the president has been able to cut through that very tough decision he took on May 29, 2023, through the popular Eagle Square declaration of subsidy is gone. The president should make sure that the gains he had or recorded on subsidy, is not being, diverted or, punctured through this refinery. I'm calling on the president to look into that refinery, wholeheartedly and, dispassionately, because the president is trying, with what I've just cited. But this refinery, we have been, is a venture that I think government needs to reconsider its, step in it.
When you say government needs to reconsider its step, I mean, just to clarify, because there are those who say, sell the whole thing, every single refinery, let's just forget about it. Do you agree with that standpoint?
Okay, up to this moment we are talking now, the 4 refineries Nigerian has, which is with a total capacity of 445,000 barrels of crude oil, the 4 of them were left for 20 years with no production of 1 liter of petrol. They were left for 20 years without a liter production of petrol. And we understand that even running a refinery, even when you are running it at loss, you must keep it running. It's not only that you are not only considering whether you are making profit or not, but keeping that refinery alive. So it has been left for 20 years. The president, like I told you, I have interfaced with the OEM of the Port Harcourt refinery, original equipment manufacturer. And they told me that refinery has been left for a long time. The government approached them and they turned down the offer from the government, to come and turn the refineries around. And the reason they gave was that asset has been left for a long time. So what we need to consider now dispassionately is that the government holding that in its hand up to this moment of what benefits is it? You have quoted that huge amount, which I'm aware, if you want to aggregate all amounts that have been spent on, turning around maintenance for Oborevwori refinery, is in billions of dollars at the moment. Of what can we now pinpoint? What can we now look at as the benefit? Another angle that we need to look at is that when the Port Harcourt refinery and all the refineries about 5 years ago, when they were not working, you go to all those refineries complex and see the way cars are parked there. This is not to tell you, or to, clamor for, sack or for, reduce in the tax, workforce or whatsoever. But we all know that millions of naira too have been spent.
All right.
On staff salary, on foreign trips for staff that are not producing a liter of petrol.
We have to go now. We have to go now. So to sell, yes or no?
To the,
All right. We have to go, unfortunately. We've run out of time for the conversation, but thank you so much for joining us. We hope we can invite you at a later date and have an extended conversation. We're going to break now, and when we come back, we have other conversations this morning on Breakfast Central.
Thanks for joining us again. Yes, because we have a special today on Breakfast Central. We would be taking the papers quite early for the 8 o'clock hour. We hope to hear from you. So we do have our guest joining us, public affairs analyst, the one you can call the prophet who had prophesied what will happen in Rivers State, and it took place a few hours later. So we hope he's going to prophesy that myself and my colleagues will be having like 50 million into our accounts by 4 billion today. Not million. Let's start small. Mr. Ifeanyi Okowa joins us today.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Good morning.
much.
It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
Prophet
I need some of your predictions for football games.
That is how the prophets rise. When they have one coincidental success and prediction, they now rise on.
And everybody starts falling on their
Is Arsenal going to win next week? I need to place 1 or 2.
It's not your own dinner.
Football betting, I've led many prophets to fail. It's the most risky area.
The World Cup. So many. The World Cup are going to. No. Anyway, let's go straight to the papers. Our first paper this morning would be, okay, let's see if we could put it up very quickly. Let's put the papers up. There you go. We'll be looking at the Nigerian Tribune. Nigeria in deficit of 300,000 doctors, according to the federal government. It marks over 110 billion naira to revamp 18 universities, medical schools. Kwara needs over 100 doctors, hospital management board. I told Atiku about my exit from PDP. He's leaving too, Okowa says. Let's start with that very quickly.
Well, that's not a surprise. Sometimes I feel Atiku has a vendetta against the PDP that dates back to the days of Obasanjo and how he was disgraced at the primary. And I believe he has also set his heart at destroying that party. And he's been doing that very well.
How?
Yes, you see, Atiku looked like a man who's very angry and very bitter. Not bitter against that institution for what they did to him. He was vice president, and he wanted to succeed Obasanjo. And Obasanjo mockingly defeated him at the primary. Then he moved out of the party. From the party, went to other parties, returned to the same party, and since that time, his return to the party has never meant well for PDP. You know what is painful?
But he got the presidential ticket last time.
No, that, you see, he buys it. PDP is weak. PDP is not strategic. Has always been weak. It's a party that was formed into power. It was not formed as a political party. It was a vehicle to hold power for the military and kept it and did it well for the military. All the years, everything the PDP did is to promote the agenda of the military cabals who hold Nigerian political structure. And that has collapsed because as soon as they lost power, there couldn't be any cohesion. And anyone that had the money became their leader. That was not political party. That is not a political party. So when they lost the election to Buhari, I knew their end had started. My first statement then was that I told my friends, I said, PDP has just died, and we are just going to attend a very long funeral. And that funeral is on. And it's getting to a conclusive. It's painful to have people disenchanted with government and thinking that there could be an alternative.
All right.
And that alternative evaporates in their face. Supporters, sentiment, those who have positive sentiment for PDP are heartbroken.
All right.
This development.
We'll come back to talk some more about the PDP, what the recent defections mean for the party at the state level as well as at the federal level after we come back from this break. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still reviewing the papers and you get a chance to call in. If you'd like to drop your thoughts, questions, comments, contributions, the numbers to call are on your TV screen. Please call in before we wrap up the segment. We're still speaking with our public affairs analyst, Theophilus Akatugba. And before we went on the break, we were talking about the structure of the PDP, the recent defection. So what do you think the implication of this? Let's go now to Delta State. Governor Sheriff Oborevwori, former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa, and a number of the PDP structure in Delta State has moved to the APC.
You know, what Oborevwori did is to reply the PDP very emphatically about the state of his disappointment. They have been internally finding ways to make the party come into the game with cohesion and readiness for the election. Seeing that the things, they don't want to be left like, the water has dried up and the fishes, so they knew what was coming. And Okowa, Okowa is very strategic. He saw that Atiku is going towards another party because PDP is not in the mood to give it to him. So that showed to him that, look, we'll be left alone in Delta. And they've seen the handwriting around. And they've also seen the northern rebellion against or opposition to Tinubu's reforms. And these are the core reforms that we have been agitating for that are happening. So they needed to move so that they don't get played out, apart from the fact that Oborevwori is also having, a suspicion that Chief James Ibori's team might move into the APC, earlier in order to
checkmate him with, Adewale who's, who's a potential candidate of that APC in the future. And that's the man that contested him heavily at the primary. So with the Bori mercenary contesting with Okowa, it could be a very deadly political battle in the Delta.
So what would this now mean?
What it means is that PDP Delta is just collapsed into one political family.
Right.
Both the opposition and everything. So there's going to just
there still be friction with the different camps?
There will be friction within in terms of shuffling offices. That's the only friction. But in terms of facing the electorate, it's just going to be a great party for the same people who have competed.
So it's much more like a duplicity of what we have in Lagos.
Well, that is if Deltans can rise to create another opposition. You have the Labour Party that have attracted attention. So if that can rise, you see, one-party system cannot work in Nigeria because Nigerians are naturally disagreeable people. And so very soon, some people will break out. And so we will have a very big party and many small parties. So that's not a one party, but they appear to be. In the Delta, for example, what we are going to see is going to have a very smooth political experience in 2027. They have all moved into one family. They want to work for one man. And you don't have any credible, apart from the Labour Party, if they are able to put up something.
So you think that now that Governor Sheriff has moved to the APC, is his guarantee for 2027 secure?
It's done. It's a done deal. That's the deal. That's the reason it's there. Adewale will come in, and I suspect he will work with him, and they will prep him up for the next.
But what if the people think otherwise? Because sometimes when we say it's a done deal,
no, I mean let me sound. Let me just
sitting here in Wemco Road and
I'm saying about a done deal being a candidate of the party.
Okay, not done deal that he's won.
No, I didn't say he's won the election.
To get the
ticket of the party. Okay, it's a done deal.
Okay,
that's fine.
Then if Alhaji Atiku Abubakar now moves, like you say, he will move. And
what parties are left?
Exactly, what party is he moving to?
SDP. I can't predict, but I see his movement with what's the name?
Labour Party.
Labour Party. No, that's El-Rufai. I can't see. They are putting forward SDP, but they could spring a surprise.
So why do you think Alhaji Atiku?
And they have Adewale to contend with, who is very, very, very clear and is very repetitive. He has agenda. He has an alternative to what's being done. His voice is growing. People have not been taking him seriously, but I have been monitoring, and I can see it's not somebody you can push out.
There's no pushover.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the SDP and the chairman also spoke this morning as well. He was
the SDP
chairman saying he doesn't like the fact that politicians are jumping up and down. There is a repetition of what PDP had done in the earlier years, and he's not really appreciating it. So it seems like they're trying to protect their own party. But we don't know for how long.
They need to, because they have been a very strategic party. They've helped to resolve some political difficulties. Is it in Osun State some time ago? And they were a minority. They were number 3, and they formed a coalition to bring up the government. So that party, SDP, appeared to me to have been even more strategic than the PDP. I have a lot of grasp with the PDP. I have never seen any party that has no strategy, that has no vision, that is only led by capacity to mobilize financially. Once money is there, the PDP big wigs are around the area. And they don't think about 10 years. Look at the last election. The mood of the nation is telling you that Buhari has ruled 8 years, 2 terms.
For the North.
For the North. And you were saying that your zoning formula was only about your party, irrespective of the big exam, the big contest. How would you come to the big contest with a 40 candidate, with a candidate that the nation, in his orientation, does not accept? And PDP people were explaining it to Nigerians, telling Nigerians that there's nothing wrong. It was a grand
Mr. Katuba,
mistake.
I'm happy you've mentioned Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. I mean, he's been in the political scene since the 1990s, and it seems it's almost becoming like an obsession of wanting to be president of Nigeria. What do you think is driving this ambition? Former President Buhari did it 4 times, and he succeeded. So that might also be an encouragement. Yes, 4 times a charm.
I'm very impressed with his repetitive exercises. I call it political exercise,
It's not getting any younger.
No, the man is on retirement. He's enjoying his life. Atiku has nothing else to live for than to exercise himself in these things. He enjoys it. That is what he loves to do. But he's not really interested in becoming president to build Nigeria, to retaliate, because he is very angry. He's angry with the PDP and majority of people with the PDP. And now Wike has built more people for him to dislike.
So this exercise that he keeps doing and he hasn't succeeded at, do you think in 2027, if he gets a ticket of any party, would he win, or perhaps it will end up as an exercise in futility?
Again, because the biggest platform that he could use has just been damaged by this move that happened in Delta. What happened in Delta is a statement to Atiku, not anybody else. Telling the PDP that why are you floating and flirting with this same man who's never done us good?
And do you think they can stop the wave of defections? I mean, the big story on the Punch says Hurricane Tinubu, PDP, NWC governors meet next week to avert defections.
Let's take a look at the meeting is actually for all of them to determine which path they want to go. Because I don't see them surviving. You know why? Because their soul has been ripped off. PDP is one of their major financial backbone, and the party where they've held sway unbroken.
Since 1990.
Yes, what happened to them was a shocker to me. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like that since we started these political dispensations in 1990, where not only that governor and a few deputies saying I'm not going with you, they did not just, they went with everybody. Even right now, those who are opposed can't even speak.
Yeah. But looking at the Southwest, because we've seen the South-South and Southeast, they're flirting with the APC. I mean, Governor Eno had already endorsed, I mean, it's PDP, but he has endorsed Mr. President for 2027. What happens to an Adeleke? And we know that Mr. Makinde is on his final term. What happens to the lone PDP man in the Southwest?
Well, there has been talk that don't go, stay here. He will be the last to go, and he might not go. He will go only when that party is obviously broken. In a few days after this, that court case shows how weak and how unable they were able to, to rally around their people. When issue of Natasha came, and I saw Atiku's position, and I didn't see his legislators follow him, not even one or two, then I knew that the PDP is a party of men speaking about the party, yet they don't have the cohesion. There have been issues of so many national issues that Atiku will promote his idea, and then he will not have the party with him. You will see Bode Johnson saying good things that will happen. Then you will notice that he's only saying it from his room, not that he has the opinion of everybody. Because what we see is always different from what they are saying about their party.
Insular.
Yes. So I noticed that all this will implode, explode, and we will see, because what happened to them up till now, they went to court. It's ridiculous. Okay, who in the Delta will be on your side in the court case?
Okay, so are you seeing a replication of what has happened in Delta State at a federal level?
Well, federal level, the federal level in terms of having other political parties.
Yeah, so in terms of more people from the People's Democratic Party moving over to the APC?
The movement that you will see from the southern politician is an endorsement of the reform that they have all long sought for. They are seeing in Tinubu that determination to make some changes. They have they've seen things in the National Assembly. They've getting the fact that the state police, all these big issues. No matter how good you are as a person, if you rule Nigeria under the current military structure, which is a superimposition of a very powerful center that controls the entire structure, even to local government, if you don't free this country from it, the best intentioned president will only be good on paper, but will not affect this country.
So you talk, is that why the autonomy and all that?
Those things,
local
because
government?
the North knows that if those things succeed, their advantage in Nigeria has been diminished. And that is the struggle. That's why you see, man like Udume crying. Udume knows what is going on. But there are a lot of northern leaders that are well-meaning, that believe that the country must work mutually beneficial. There are. But in politics, you've got to look for those ones if you want to cause any reform. State police, for example, is it not ridiculous that after many years, who's Boko Haram? We can't crack it. Because there's something just wrong within the structure. That's why you see politicians telling you that this country may never be good. So they invest outward. They put their hope outside. Because within the polity, they are not seeing the hope, because they know that structurally we have challenges.
And if those structures are not changed, that's why